Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're learning Maseches Bava Basra, Daf Lamed Daled, and we're starting 9 lines or so from the bottom of Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. The Gemara says, "Hahu de Amar lechavre." A guy says to a squatter on his property, "My bois b'hai ara." What are you doing on my field? So the squatter replies, "Amar le minach zavnis." I bought it from you. Ve'achalti shnei chazaka. Not only did I buy it from you, but I lived in your property for the requisite amount of time to now own your field due to squatters' rights. I've been there for 365 days times 3, whatever the parameters are, the field belongs to me. The Gemara says, bottom of Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. The Gemara says, after I make that claim, let's assume I'm the squatter, I say I bought it from you, and not only did I buy it from you, but I was there for 3 years. However, I see chad sada. I only brought one witness to achla tlashne. So I'm missing my typical presentation, as we've seen many times, which is that there are witnesses that say that I've been there for 3 years. Here, I only have eid echad. Now, we know that throughout halacha, sometimes eid echad is trusted. We know famously, eid echad ne'eman bi'isurin. And we also know that 2 eidim are certainly more powerful. In a case like this, what happens? So the Rishonim here write that it's pashut that he has to give back the property, pashut, because your testimony doesn't hold up. It's not strong enough. Eid echad is not allowed over here. The big diyun, and that's what the Gemara is going to discuss, is if I've lived there for 2 years, do I have to pay back fruits for those 2 years that I benefited from? That's what we're going to deal with today. So savar rabbanon kamei de abaye lemeimar hainu nascha de Rabbi Abba. This is the case of a nascha is like a chunk of silver or a block of silver, like the case of Rabbi Abba. What's the case? There was a guy who grabbed a block of silver from one of his friends. They brought the Shailan Bezdin before Rabbi Ami, and Havayasi Rabbi Abba Kame. And Rabbi Abba was in the room when all of this was transpiring. Aisi Chad Sada. One witness shows up, and what does the witness say? De michtav chatfamine. There was one witness that said, yes, I saw the guy taking the block of silver. Amar le, the guy about whom, he's now the defendant, the guy about whom it was said that he took the silver, he said, in, chatvi, you're 100% right, I took it, but vididi chatvi, I took it, but it's mamish mine. You have no, it's mine. So this, says the Gemara, is like the perfect storm of gray area. And look at how the Gemara articulates the challenge of answering a shaila like this. Last few words on Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. Amar Rabbi Ami, Heichi nidainuha daine lahaydina. How should a judge adjudicate this case? Do you want to say that the guy who grabbed the silver, he should be l'shalem, he should pay? Well, like a tresadeh. There was only one witness to the fact that he grabbed it. Lifterei, if you want to say that maybe the guy who grabbed the silver should be pater, but he kachad sada, who saw that he did something wrong, so still, twilight zone, not sure what to do. If you want to say lishtaba, that someone should make a shvua, that this guy should make a shvua, that, what do you mean, make a shvua? He's moded that he took it. Ha'amar michtav chatva. He said he took it. What shvua do you want him to make? And therefore, v'kevan de'amar dechatva havalei gazlan. Once he said he took it, he's a gazlan. So because we only have one aid, and we're really in like kind of like in this, it's kind of like Venn diagrams. Like, what? All right, I'll give a different mashal. Okay, let's just say it's a perfectly gray scenario. We don't, because there's only one aid, so you can't force him to pay. You can't force him to make it. It's just what are you supposed to do? So, Amar Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba said, I know what the answer is to this question. In a case like this, where there's one witness, the witness witnessed me grabbing the silver. My claim back to them is that I did grab it, but it's mine, but there's only one aid. What does Rabbi Abba say? 4 lines down on Lamed Daled and Amud Aleph. Have a mechuyav shvua she'enu yachal lishava. This is a case where he would be chayav a shvua, but he's not able to make the shvua for technical reasons, because the technical reason would be that I didn't touch it, and he can't say that. So, in all of these cases, mishalem. So, what is the Gemara trying to recommend? The Gemara is trying to recommend that we can learn from the case of Naska the Rabbi Abba, that from the case where the one guy with one aid grabbed the silver, what did we say over there? He's chayav to be mishalem. So too by the case that we started with today, that when I only bring witnesses I only brought one witness for my 3 years of squatting, maybe I also have to be mishalem. I have to pay back the payros. That's the Gemara's assertion. That's the answer of Rabbi Abba. Amar le Abaye. Abaye says, absolutely not. I do not agree with you at all. Midami, the case that we started with, where I only brought one witness to my 3 years of squatting, and the case of Naska de Rabbi Abba, where I grabbed a block of silver claiming it was mine, midami, those cases are not comparable. And the Gemara gives a beautiful difference between those cases. 5 lines from the bottom. Lamadal Lamadal. Hasam Sahada le'orue ka'asi. Over there, in the case of Naska de Rabbi Abba, if you bring another witness, what happens? You're making a reyasa, you're making things worse. What does that mean? Ki asi achrina bahadeh, if another aid would show up, mafkinan lamine. Then, by Naska de Rabbi Abba, if another aid shows up, we take away the silver from the owner. However, hacha, in our case, where we have one witness that says, Karesh squatted for 3 years, if we bring a second witness, what happens? Hacha l'siyukasi, he supports the fact that the property will stay with that person. Ki asa achrina mukminan le biadeh. So the cases are not comparable, because if we were to add an aid in regards to the case of Naska de Rabbi Abba, I would lose the property. But if we add an aid to our case, I would keep the property. And therefore the cases are dissimilar. Subtle, but beautiful. Ella, idam yahad Rabbi Abba, if you want to make a comparison, the only way to really make a comparison to our case is, yes.
Case. So the second witness would take it from the owner to the squatter. Is that correct? If we
Let's look at both cases. The case of Naska de Rabbi Abba is, I took it, and I have one witness that I took it.
The hands of the second.
The chotef. I grabbed it.
So by bringing a second witness, it would leave it there, correct?
Opposite. By bringing a second witness, it gets pulled out of his hands. Because this was how he wanted to distinguish between the cases. And in our case, if I brought one aid that I was a squatter, I have to give it back. But if I bring 2, then I keep it. Right. So that's the chakira between the 2 cases, and therefore the cases are not comparable. Yesh ladun. It's a very subtle distinction. It's very dark. And I could see a svara to say the other way. Who cares what happens after the edus comes? Who cares? But the Gemara cares. So evidently the Gemara cares. But that's the Gemara's chakira. And therefore, if you want to make a comparison to our case, Idam Yahad Rabbi Abba, it has to be L'chad Sahada, where there's one witness, Ula Tarte Shnei, if it's only for 2 years, Ula Pere, and there's fruits involved. Otherwise, no comparison. That brings us to the top of Lamed Dalet, Amud Beis. We'll be learning until 3 lines from the bottom of the page, and then we'll pause for tonight. Hahu Arba, there was a boat. To have a minsu ala betre. 2 people were arguing about a boat. Hi Amar Didihu, v'Hi Amar Didihu. Let's call it a yacht just for fun. We're arguing as to who owns the yacht. We don't know. It's currently sitting on the dock, tethered, anchored properly. Asa chad minay lebedina. One of the guys goes to Bezdin, and he says to Bezdin, v'Amar tifsuha, I want you, Bezdin, to take the yacht, put it into your own property, put it into your own rishos, adamaisina sade dididihu. Until I bring witnesses that it's mine. Now, the downside to doing this is that it's no longer in a neutral zone. Now it's being pulled into a locale specifically for one of the plaintiffs, which sounds a little uneven. So the Gemara says, tafsinan or lo tafsinan. Do we do this action of taking the boat and putting it into some place that's no longer neutral? So this is a machlokes amorai. Rav Huna Amar tafsinan, Rav Yehuda Amar lo tafsinan. It's a machlokes if we're allowed to do this. This is what the Gemara says is happening over here. And then the Gemara says that in fact the Gemara doesn't say this, but the Rishonim write that in fact someone took it. The Chachamim took the boat, and Azal, this witness who had asked them to take the boat, he went to go find Eidim, below Ashkach Sadeh, and he ended up not finding the Eidim that he thought he would have had. So then he said back to them, this same person who said, please, Bezdin, hold on to the boat. Amar Louis said to Bezdin, Afkua, v'chol de'olim gvar. He said, put the boat back where you found it, and call de'olim gvar. At the end of the day, whoever has a stronger claim, call de'olim, whoever is stronger, gvar, whichever man is stronger, literally. This is not talking about a duel. This is not talking about a fist fight with brass knuckles. This is just talking about halachic arguments. Who has a better raya, who has more eidim, whatever the case may be. So it's called the alim gavar. So now the Bezdin did in fact take in the property. Do we say mafkinan or lo mafkinan? Is Bezdin allowed to then take the boat and put it back where they found it or not? So Rabbi Yehuda Amar lo mafkinan. Rabbi Yehuda says that you're not allowed to do this. Rashi explains, or the Rashbam, explains 10 lines from the bottom. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say lo mafkinan? So the Rashbam says lo mafkinan deme'achar sheba mamon Yisrael biyad Bezdin. Now that Bezdin has taken some degree of responsibility for this property, einon rishayin lahafkiro. They're not allowed to put it back out there. You're not allowed to put it back out there because it's mamon Yisrael. You're not allowed. So the only way that the Rishonim discussed this, if in fact he did take the property, it might be according to Rav Huna, who says that it's mutter to take the property. No problem. We're not giving it to anyone. It's just that Bezdin is taking it out of its docking spot and putting it into Bezdin's docking spot. We're moving it. That's all that's happening because this guy said, he's like, it's going to be mine. He's arguing, he's hedging. And Bezdin's like, oh, according to Rav Huna, no problem. I don't care where the boat sits. Doesn't matter to me. According to Rabbi Huda, he didn't like where the boat was sitting. He said, you're not allowed to do that. But if you are allowed to do it and you do it, then you're not allowed to give it back out. You're not allowed to put it back where you initially found it. And that's Rav Papa Amar Mafkinan, that you are allowed to put it back out. The Hilchasa, what is the halacha? Lo tafsinan. We hold like Rabbi Huda that you shouldn't have taken the boat away from its initial spot in the first place. And ve'echad the tafas. But if in fact one did so incorrectly in this case, because we hold like Rabbi Huda, then lo mafkinan, then you are not allowed to then kick it back out for the same exact reason we said before. And the Rashbam, says the same thing, which is because it's Mamon Yisrael. You're not allowed to put it back out in a public space. We'll stop right here, 3 lines from the bottom. We'll pick up Emir Hashem tomorrow with Daf Lamed Hey. Wishing you all a beautiful